All right, welcome back into another episode of The Pit. We got another special edition episode here. I'm Drew Pavant here at WTVM in Columbus, Georgia, joined by WTVM's special projects manager who doesn't know how to turn off his phone, Jeremy Hayes. Ringer got to go off, Jeremy, when you're on air. You got to realize this. Jeremy, thanks for joining me once again. We're going to be talking Falcons special edition. Training camp is just a couple weeks away from the get started up in Flowery Branch at the end of July. Should be about a week now, actually. So we're just going to talk about overall what we expect from the Falcons this season. New coach, new, improved roster, I guess you could say. New additions, some key departures, and we got a little special game. We're going to be doing a $15 box of all-time Falcons, and we're going to try to assemble our best team with only $15. But we'll get to that later on in the show. Jeremy, first off, thank you for joining us. Biggest takeaway from you looking at this Falcons roster, what's one thing that you're kind of circling?
Quarterbacks. No questions about it. It's the quarterbacks. Who it's going to be? It's going to be Penix. It's going to be Tua. That's the biggest question. And there's a lot of questions that are out there that hasn't been answered. Obviously, with Michael Penix coming back, already knowing the system, knowing the weapons, having that chemistry with those guys, I think it's going to be obviously interesting to see how he progressed, but now he has Tua with him now, who it's not a terrible quarterback, but I think there's a lot of questions around him. The biggest one has been the injuries with Tua. Falcons got two lefties. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to take place with this Falcons over this next year.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely going to be interesting. And going with Tua, obviously they released Kirk Cousins and they're going to solidify Penix, and then Tua gets cut by the Dolphins, and you have the opportunity to add him as a minimum value quarterback. So you get him on a one-year deal. Dolphins are paying basically his salary for this year, and you get him on a low-stakes kind of thing. And especially with Penix coming off the injury that he suffered towards the end of last season, gives him time to heal up, but also kind of creates a little bit midst of a controversy in regards to the quarterback room. Now, Jeremy mentioned it, two left-hand quarterbacks. I'll say this, playing football my entire life, being a pass catcher, I hate lefty quarterbacks. There's something about the way that ball spins out. It's like you're throwing a football in Australia. It's spinning the wrong way, and it throws you off at first. But interesting to go with two lefties, especially two guys who I don't want to say have the same cons, but very similar in the way that they both have had injury problems. Penix with the legs and the knees, Tua with the head injuries. Both quarterbacks that are accurate but can't throw the ball downfield with great power like you'd fully expect an NFL quarterback team to have. Obviously, you extend Drake London, you extend Kyle Pitts. Bijan Robinson's next on the list to be extended. You bring in Jahan Dotson to be your number 2, number 3 receiver. But Zachariah Branch, the Athens kid this past year from Georgia, getting selected by the Falcons, staying close to the Georgia program. Germ, I know you're a big Zach Branch fan. Your thoughts on him ended up with the Dirty Birds.
Yeah, I thought it was a great pick, getting Zach Branch. Obviously, with the excitement that he plays with, and he's just a twitchy kid. I think that's just one of those players that you can have on your team that you don't really have to worry about the explosiveness, if you will. And I think Zachariah Branch brings that to the Falcons offense, who I feel like the wide receivers are already, loaded across the board. You got, with Drake London and Dotson. But I just think that Zachariah Branch brings another element. He's a Cali kid, but he's a Georgia kid. He's a Georgia kid, right? Let's just call it for what it is. And I think that, Falcons fans be excited to see him play again in the Benz. I'm just anxious to see how they're going to use him. He's not really your traditional receiver, obviously. He's explosive. So however they get him in some of these formations and get him in space and get some blocking in front of him, I think it'd be interesting to see what happens after that.
Yeah, explosiveness they have with Bijan Robinson, but I feel like that was a concern with this team the past couple years when they were under Raheem Morris was, you have Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts. You don't have that breakaway receiver that can change the game on a 10-yard slant route and take it 60 yards to the house. You know what I mean? Or set up a perfect tunnel screen on the outside and just let him go. I think Branch could be that. I think he was underutilized at Georgia at times. They ran a lot of screens, but that's just the Georgia offense in general. We're not talking about that. I feel like he could have been used a lot more than what he had flashed at USC. And we saw it at times at Georgia, but not as frequent as I would have liked to seen it. But I know the talent's there. I've seen the flashes, and I think being behind a Drake London and a Dotson, and then Kyle Pitts kind of being there, that H with Austin Hooper being brought in as that veteran tight end also to the room, I think it opens up the field for Branch to kind of make moves and be the difference when they really need it to be. Now, Tua's probably going to be the starter, at least for the early parts of the season. Now, the concern with that is, and I'm going to keep hammering the quarterback situation because that on the growing around the league, that's the issue when it comes to the Falcons.
Yes.
Now, Tua, say he goes 3-0, I find it hard to believe they would bench him for Michael Penix coming off the injured list.
And you don't think you have a choice?
No.
I mean,
if you're hot, you're hot.
Yeah. I mean, if he comes in and he's 3-0, especially with the schedule, when you look at that schedule, and I'm going to pull it up here. When
you faced 3 teams who were in the playoffs last year.
You're literally Steelers, Panthers, and then Packers, right?
Yeah.
And if he gets through that stretch there, and you got the Packers on a primetime Thursday night, I don't see how he's not your starter. Because I don't think he's going to bring to the table any less than what a Michael Penix would, outside of just having the experience and the chemistry, like I stated before, with the receiver room, and then obviously depending on what Bijan do. And honestly, the weapons around the quarterback could make the quarterback decision not that important, if you will.
Yeah.
Every team needs a quarterback, but if the offense is flowing, the quarterback just needs to be a part. So you got Drake London, you got Bijan Robinson, Zacchaeus and Dotson, those guys. And if the offensive line performs, I mean, the Falcons are totally okay with toting the rock 40 times a game and winning the game. And I think that could happen too, which takes some of that pressure off the quarterback situation. But, I mean, if it came down to quarterback play and Tua goes 3-0 and he's lighting it up, I don't see how Michael Penix has a starting job when he comes back.
Yeah, and I think that was a discrepancy with the Raheem Morris regime of the offense was like, Bijan would have 200 yards one week, and then the next week he's barely getting 15 touches. I think with Tyler Algier moving on and you bring in Brian Robinson, who's a little bit more ground and pound, nose in the ground kind of north-south tailback compared to the east-west kind of playmaker that Bijan is, I think they complement each other a little bit more because I think Algier was too much of a pass catcher that they were using him more on third downs when I think you could have seen Bijan in there. And Algier was great. I mean, well-deserved contract in Arizona. But now you just kind of reevaluate, and Tommy Reese now being the offensive coordinator with the Falcons, I think he's done a pretty good job of wherever he's been. Obviously, following Coach Stefanski from Cleveland, and I like Stefanski. He's won before, and winning in Cleveland is probably the hardest thing to do. So he's obviously shown. And I said this last year. I thought this offense, like with what Penix had flashed at the end of his rookie year, and Bijan and Drake and Kyle. Like, the potential to be a top 5 offense is there. You have the weapons. You just need the quarterback to be A, healthy, and then B, deliver when you really need to. And I feel like the Falcons last year, there was moments in certain games where the foot was just off the gas completely. And I feel like with Tua, he's been in an offense where, under Mike McDaniel, the foot was on the gas the entire time. I mean, they had Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane. Like, they were pedal to the metal every single time. I think this offense not going to be a similar style and scheme, but they have the potential to put up a lot of points because what you have is Drake London. You have Pitts. You got Zach Branch. Dotson could be good. Then you have Bijan and B-Rob in the backfield, and that's going to be tough to have Bijan and Brian Robinson. Just from a name standpoint, is Bijan going to have to be?
Good luck to any announcer that's calling that game.
It's going to be B.I. Rob and then B.R. Rob on the back of the jerseys. Just want to make that a point.
Yeah.
But enough about the offense. I really like what they have defensively. Obviously, the linebacking room gets a lot of the attention when it comes to the Falcons, but I really love what they have in the secondary. Xavier Watts, who is great. Billy Bowman is going to be your slot kind of nickel safety. He can be excellent from Oklahoma. He had a ton of picks when he was in college. Saw the development with him and Watts throughout the year this past season. A.J. Terrell back, but you bring in his brother Avion, who's also a very talented corner who I thought was a steal to get him in the second round. I thought he had a first-round evaluation. That's where I had him at. And then you keep Jesse Bates on as the safety as well. So I think having the veteran presence in the mix-up, this can be a very good secondary because when you have an offense like that on your team that could put up a lot of points, teams are going to want to throw the ball. And just looking at their schedule, there's some teams that are going to want to throw the football. Green Bay's going to throw it. Chicago likes to throw it. San Fran can throw it pretty well. Cincinnati, Kansas City, Minnesota, Detroit, Like, these are teams that are going to air out this football. Tampa Bay twice. Like, you're going to have a good secondary, and I think they're set in their ways. Germ, on this defense, who really stands out to you? I know I touched on the secondary a little bit, but any other names really jump off the page?
I mean, there's a couple, and they were rookies last year. Honest with Pierce and Walker. Those two both they got to have extended years. I mean, they had the years that they had last year, and I think it was a success. Some people will argue different. I know some off the field issues with Pierce or whatnot, but I just feel like those two guys and the production that they brought to this defense, along with the returning of Bates and AJ Terrell in the secondary. If they can get to the quarterback, I think this defense have enough on the back end to make some things happen. So that's why I wanted to turn it back to James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker, just with the energy that they can bring if they can get the outside containment and force things into the middle. I don't see a lot of teams throwing it on the defense, which is kind of I pause and hesitate to say that out loud because the secondary used to be a issue, and it was because of injuries. But if these guys stay healthy in the secondary, I think they got one of the best secondaries in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think up the middle, you got Christian Harris, Divine Diablo. You mentioned Pierce and Walker. You know, at the time, I wasn't big on the James Pierce trade because you had to give up your first-round pick that was this year.
Yep.
And I felt like that was a lot for a guy to come back and get into the late first round. Now, they were both great. The problem was the year before, 2 years ago, and I'm talking about the Raheem Morris regime, was they didn't get to the quarterback at all. They were one of the worst teams on pressuring the quarterback.
Absolutely.
They were miles ahead better. And Jalen Walker, I think, could develop to be one of the best outside backers in the NFL, along with and pairing him with James Pierce Jr., who is a different kind of edge rusher. Like, he's a lengthier build, but he's got the speed, he's got power. Obviously, if he could stay on the field, that's a key to the situation. But I really like what the Falcons have defensively. I think this is a team that can have some success. Now, this schedule, the early parts, like, we'll know by week 11 how legit this team is. Betting sites have got this team at a 6.5 win over under. I think it's a little low, but I mean, Vegas probably knows better than I do about these other teams. Like, you start Pittsburgh, Carolina, Green Bay, winnable games, all three.
They're only favored in the Carolina game.
Yes.
1 point.
So. Yeah. So, and you're home for Carolina. Pittsburgh and Green Bay, you're on the road.
Yep.
And winning in Lambeau, Tua's probably happy it's in September and not December and the frozen tundra. And then obviously you get New Orleans. Baltimore comes in for Sunday Night Football. Chicago coming off a red-hot season with Caleb Williams. And Ben Johnson, an incredible staff. San Francisco coming back as well. They demolished the Falcons out in the Bay Area last year. Tampa Bay, obviously a huge rivalry. But like I said, then you finish off before the bye week, Cincinnati and Kansas City both at home. But it's just both those games where, Cincinnati's in Europe. I can't, or somewhere
overseas.
The Madrid, that's what it is. I couldn't remember where they were playing. But still not an easy slate going into the bye week. And I think if you can be 6-4, 5-5 going into the bye week, you should be happy if you're a Falcons fan because the NFC South, like, it has strong moments, but it's arguably the easiest division to win consistently over the past couple of years because of you don't have a team that's, and I know you made a face, but you don't have a team that's like 11-5, 12 and
you don't have a heavy hitter.
Yeah,
but I mean, you don't.
But they're all consistently good enough.
Exactly. I was about to say they're consistently even, which makes it tough. And I think that's been the problem. A lot of people like to say that division is just not strong. I don't know.
It's competitive. It's competitive because they're all seemingly balanced.
Yes, absolutely.
Like Tampa Bay's tailed off over the past couple of years, and we'll see how they are this year. And Carolina making the playoffs.
Saints finished strong last year.
Saints did it with Shuck and Kellen Moore finally trying to develop this offense to how he wants. They bring in ETN from Jacksonville. Or A-Chain. He corrected how his last name. It's A-Chain now. But it's a competitive division. The NFC South is always just you never know who's going to come out on top. I thought last year was the Falcons' chance to do it, and there was a chance for them to do it, but the injuries just plagued them enough, and the season had been kind of written off at that point of the year when Kirk Cousins had taken over the reins of the program. So evaluating this team, I think they could be a playoff team. I think they're going to compete for the NFC South, but it's going to be a 9-8 kind of year for the Falcons, I think, at best.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready yet to do the wins and losses.
No, we're way too ahead.
Early. But I mean, honestly though, I mean, 6 wins is, I mean, with this Falcons team, and they're hot here, and then they tell off here, and they lose the games they're not supposed to. I mean, it's really hard to say, especially at the NFL level, 2 lefty quarterbacks. Realistically, they're trying to put stuff together. I had to really wait to see what happens after summer camp.
Yeah.
No telling with these Falcons, man. But 9 wins, I think, is very doable with the schedule. I do think 9 wins, 10 wins, even. We saw them in spurts last year where, again, they won. I mean, on the road. I want to say it was Washington or Philly, one of those games where obviously they was not the favorite. It was, I think, a double-digit underdog. Philly, and they end up winning that game. I mean, they win a big game a year where you're like, okay, the Falcons are actually back.
Yeah, I mean that Buffalo game is a prime example.
Yeah, the Buffalo game they won. So
football.
I just think even given Sunday, like I say, Saturday in college, but on Sunday, and a given Sunday with this talent. But I think a lot of these questions will be answered after the summer training camp here. So
yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. Like any given Sunday in the NFL is more true than I think it is in college truthfully, just because the NFL, like, there's just dudes at every team, and like you have your dominant teams that could still fall off at any point because anybody can step in with the right game plan and have great coaching and be there. Something I do want to point out on the Falcons schedule, favorable final 5 games. They go to Cleveland, at Washington, home for Tampa, home for New Orleans, at Carolina. So those final 3 games are all division games. Knowing this division, the NFC South, those 3 games between the 4 teams will be decided in that final 3 weeks. And that's where the Falcons, like, you have a good showing. You say you win against Detroit, you got to lock in for those final 5 and really try to step it up. But like you mentioned, I mean, it's so early. We're in July. We're a week or 2 away from, I think, the 28th Veterans Report for training camp. So it's going to be exciting to see what the Falcons are able to bring to the table in 2026. But that's all the time we have in the first block, but we got a little game, a little special game. Oh, yeah. What are we calling? A $15 breakdown of Falcons legends.
Put your GM hats on.
Yeah, GM hats, money managers. We'll see what we got all coming up next on The Pit. All right, welcome back into another special edition of The Pit. Falcons season preview here in the early stages of July, a couple weeks away from training camp. We just got done talking a little early season, way too early season preview in my thoughts. But the additions, the departures, what to expect with Coach Stefanski, quarterback battle, we went through all of it. So we're going to do something fun here. Jeremy posed this idea to me yesterday just about, he saw a board of like a $15 pick'em board, and he was like, this would be fun. He's like, if we did this for like the Falcons, I believe he saw it for Georgia. And I was like, we can make a board. I'm like, I know enough Falcons that we can make a $5 board. So you get $15. Me and Jeremy are going to play this game. You got to build your best Falcons squad. I was thinking about mulling over, should I do defense by year or should we just do individual defensive players? I know the one you showed me had 2 receivers. The Falcons don't have enough good receivers for that to be the case. But we're going to do quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, and defensive players. Yeah. So, Jeremy, I'm going to let you go first. Quarterbacks, just to run it through. You'll see it on your screen. $5, Matt Ryan. $4, Mike Vick. $3, Stephen Barkowski. $2, Chris Chandler. $1, Kirk Cousins. You see the rest on your screen there. Jeremy, take it away. Let's hear your $15 board.
All right, $15 board my way. I'm taking Mike Vick for $4.
All right.
I mean, you kind of got to. That's a boom pick.
I mean, for $4, that's
$4. Yeah. And some people argue that him and Matt Ryan should be swapped. Matt Ryan is obviously the better quarterback.
Stats wise, you can't argue.
Yeah, I got Mike Vick. Easy. I got Jamal Anderson for $2, which I feel is a steal.
So that was when I was making this board. That was the tough part about ranking these running backs because someone argued, well, like Warwick Dunn could be like. Michael Turner could be over Bijan. Like, Bijan hasn't played enough as a Falcon. But I think when you look at the overall talent that Bijan brings in production, like what he can mean to your team, I mean, it's hard to value that at anything less than $5.
Yeah, I think you did a good job by putting Bijan at $5.
All right, so you got Jamal.
Yep, I got Jamal.
And Mike Vick.
Yep, I got Calvin.
Okay.
As a dollar, steal.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate steal.
Just imagine if he, didn't gamble.
Yeah, I mean, he was almost at 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns and 8
He was
games.
supposed
I mean,
to take
that's
over for Julio.
Insane.
Yeah.
Give me Kyle Pitts for $3.
Okay.
And you'll see why, because I'm gearing up. I have obviously $5 left.
I
and
mean,
I'm
look,
taking-
if we're statisticians here, and I'm no mathematician by whatsoever the word, you got $5 left. So,
I mean, it's obvious I'm taking Deion.
yeah, I mean,
saved
that's
that
hard to
$5.
pass up. To be able to have, could you imagine a Falcons team with Mike Vick and Deion,
And Deion Sanders? Oh my God, insane. I mean, Matt Ryan, and I mean, you look at Matt Ryan. Think about if you had Matt Ryan and Bijan and Julio.
Yeah.
Let's just put that together. I mean, that's insane. I will say
in their primes. Let's
Yeah,
preface
yeah,
that.
yeah, let's-
All these
let's
guys
be
would be in
correct.
their primes and best years with the Falcons, because I do believe I don't think there was an overlay with Bijan and Matt Ryan, but they were awfully close. But
yeah. I will say it was hard putting this together. I know you get ready to give yours, and you was
Yeah.
doing yours up right to the time that we started recording.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Matt Ryan. I could easily took Matt Ryan for $5 and moved and shake some stuff. But I just feel like this roster here.
I think you get
For
Vic at the
$15.
4 with the value of you looking at the spread because of the talent. And it's tough at the receiver position because, like, to pass up on Julio,
Yeah.
it's difficult. All right, I'm going to give mine. I was mulling Matt Ryan or Vic. For me, it's just I look at the other weapons, like you look at the receivers and the tailbacks and the tight end, and like if Mike Vick actually had weapons around him in Atlanta, like say today,
Yeah.
I get a prime Mike Vick walking through that door, I got to go with Vic at $4. Like the value's just way too good. Running back, I'm going with Warwick Dunn at 3.
Smart.
Super underrated running back in his career in the NFL with Tampa and Atlanta as well. I just couldn't break the bank on $5 or $4 for Michael Turner. And I felt like you could go Freeman. Freeman was very good when he was with the Falcons, but I feel like I'd rather spend my dollar elsewhere.
Yeah.
And for 5, I'm going big. I'm going Julio.
Well,
Could you
Julio.
imagine Julio and Mike Vick? Like you saw those throws when Mike Vick was with the Eagles and they had a plethora of talent, and he was launching like 80-yard passes to Deshaun Jackson. Was unreal. Like, could you just imagine
If
him
it
and
was
Julio together?
Oh,
yeah. Tight end. I went with Jim Mitchell, who he's 70s, 60s, decades. He had some really good numbers.
That's
I think
a
he's
safe pick.
Yeah, I mean these older guys. I know the older Falcons fans are not going to remember, but Jim Mitchell put up a ton of points or a ton of yards and touchdowns when he was with the Falcons in the 70s. Defense that leaves you with $1. Dion was hard to pass up. Claude Humphrey, all-time picks leader. John Abraham, who I loved when he was with the Falcons, a monster on the edge.
Yeah.
But that leaves me with Tommy Nobis, who is Mr. Falcon. Jersey's retired, 5-time Pro Bowler. With defense for me, it was like I couldn't go wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if I want,
you
because
look-
I was
you're
so
looking for
infatuated
that.
with the Vic Julio thing.
Yeah.
I was like, defense. If I got to leave it to $1, I'd rather leave it to defense than have to have Austin Hooper or Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and that's a great point you make. I mean, you don't have to. You didn't have to hit. I hit the home run because of the name, right?
Yeah, you're just off the namesake.
When you look at, I mean, a Hall of Fame guy again. I mean, 53 interceptions. I mean, he returned
I mean,
kicks.
yeah.
Why would I not take
with
Deion?
Germ's team? Vic, Jamal Anderson, Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, Deion Sanders. I think the Mercedes-Benz would be sold
It would
out
be
if that
sold.
team played today.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
imagine if Deion played a lone receiver too.
Yeah,
With
he probably
Calvin
could.
Ridley and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, it'll be insane.
Spread them out. That's a heck of an offense. All right, we just got done. I mean, I thought we both had good picks. It's hard to miss on these boards. Really.
I really like your. I like your Vic Julio pick. I know you talked about it, but I mean, I don't think that's thought about enough. I think if everybody take a second, take 3 seconds,
a
close your eyes,
6'5",
and just
4'3"
imagine
receiver that
Vic to Jones.
Yeah.
is insane.
you deep ball city. I'd just lob it up there every time, like you saw with
Or
Matt
just
Ryan.
run it.
Yeah, that too. Mike Vick and Warwick Dunn.
Yeah.
which was a thing, which I saw and ran great at Madden 06. You run a little bootleg.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Vick taking off for 70 yards, money almost every time. All right, that was our Falcons $15 board. You see it there. Me and Jerem had our picks. I thought we did well. But that's going to wrap it up for a special edition of the Pit. Falcons season preview in the early months of here in July. We'll dive into the Pit, obviously, when we go through training camp and we ramp up through preseason games on what we hear more about this team and the quarterback situation and how everything's going to kind of figure out under the Stefanski era, Tommy Rees, and, of course, Matt Ryan, the president of football now for the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, it's going to be fun times.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
He got a job.
It'll be fun until
he has his word cut out for him.
He does. It'll be fun until, it's not. We'll see. But, hey, thanks for joining on the Pit. Make sure to tune in next Monday for another episode of your Georgia Regional Sports Show.